I've been doing this for a long ass time. This is my wheelhouse. We've had relative success on this program, even though the numbers have been tough. But we are down to the one game here, and we love the activity of wagering here. I always think of the old classic Flintstones episode when Fred had a little gambling problem. But when I see like odds like some of the ones we're going to get to, like a three-leg parlay with 14-1 odds. I got another three-leg parlay with 24-1 odds. I'm like Fred when he had the problem. I'm like, bet, let's go. But we'll start with the first one here, and it's a plus 500 deal, and it's called your tight end prop parlay, if you will. Very creative name I just made up there on the spot. But it is, in fact, the top three tight ends in the damn game. Kelce, Goddard, and Noah Gray. A lot of this comes down to Noah Gray. I'll be feeling very gray about Noah if he goes catchless in this game. But as we've outlined here, he actually is the crossing route maven in this offense. And the Eagles have actually given up 8.98 yards per attempt on crossing routes. That's the 11th most. They've also been the toughest defense on all other routes. So I would think that Noah Gray can get in on the fun. He's been a little quiet lately, by the way, in the playoffs, which is probably why the line's a little lower. The Chiefs throw out of 11 personnel at the fourth highest rate over the regular season. So we'll see him on the field quite a bit. And it's actually not an ideal schematic matchup for Travis Kelce. I'm leaning on Gray's body of work on the season that leads me to believe that he will, in fact, be a factor and catch a couple of balls. As for Kelce, I mean, you cannot say enough about his playoff production. I mean, the guy, if you had any doubt about the Hall of Fame credentials, how about the fact that he's got 20 touchdowns in 27 playoff games, by the way? He did have a quiet game this past week. In fact, in the AFC Championship game, that was his worst game ever in the playoffs. Now, it's not the greatest matchup here. As I said, it's not the greatest schematic matchup, but the Eagles have been gotten by a couple of tight ends recently. Actually, it goes back to around mid-season, but I was all over Zach Ertz in that game 2 weeks ago, and he crushed. Tyler Higbee the week before had a good game and scored. So I'm feeling okay about it. The main thing is that, as noted by Stephen O'Rourke yesterday, Travis Kelce's got a 32% target share when Mahomes moves off his first read. That is worth noting because Mahomes, Joe Tooney there at left tackle, he's a guard. He had to plug up a hole there at left tackle. And we do have some protection issues here with Mahomes late in the season, and Jalen Carter has been wreaking havoc. So I do think he'll have to, he'll be knocked off his spot several times. And when he does get knocked off his spot, he often does, in fact, look for Kelce. And real quick on Goddard, we've been talking about him throughout the last couple of weeks. Heck, I've been talking about him in the playoffs. I was not a big Goddard guy this summer, hardly, because he does underwhelm and all that. But I never disliked the player at all. I actually interviewed him at the Combine. I love the dude. I can tell you that. A massive individual. But KC has been struggling against the slot and tight ends all year, as we've outlined. And by the way, Goddard lines up in the slot plenty. Trying to see where the heck it is here. I have the data here somewhere, but he's in the slot quite a bit, and he's also obviously inline tight end. So Casey has struggled against tight ends, basically, and slot receivers. I do believe that Jalen Hurts is going to have to use the middle of the field more than usual, and I do believe, why wouldn't you look for your big-ass tight end? Next up, we've got a Kelce, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith prop. Feel good about that. That's also a plus 500. We've talked about A.J. Brown. There is not a bad covered shell for A.J. Brown. Now, the Chiefs do allow the lowest target share along with the second fewest receiving yards per game and the seventh fewest yards per route run to outside receivers. So in that regard, it is a tough spot for Brown. But given the threat posed by Barkley, I'm thinking they're going to go with more single high, which is great for Brown. As we've mentioned, he averages a robust 3.94 yards per route run against single high. I think they'll find ways to load up on Barkley. He will see shadow coverage from Trent McDuffie, but he did get them for 6 catches for 96 with a touchdown in that Super Bowl 2 years ago. And I do love with 8 or more defenders in the box, he has an insane 5.0 YPR. So I like that. And I also like Devontae Smith. If they do continue to play the 2 high, then that's good for Smith, who leads the team in targets per route run against 2 high. However, again, I do suspect that they'll go more single high, but it's just a good matchup inside. KC gives up the most yards per route run and the second most, or the most yards per route run to slot receivers. Basically, they have been a little bit of a funnel inside all year. And Devontae Smith did have 7 grabs for 100 on 9 targets 2 years ago in that Super Bowl. I think he'll do a little bit more than Khalil Shakir did in this matchup last time out. I did love Shakir in that game, and he didn't hit his prop, but he did catch 6 balls for 46. Have to go a little quicker for these other ones. Hollywood Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, Noah Gray. I mean, these are low end, but plus 625, I feel all right about it. Especially, I'm kind of feeling Hollywood here. I think one of these guys are going to have to step up. Hollywood has been second in route share for the second straight postseason game. He's got 3+ grabs for 35 yards in 3 of his last 4. D-Hop's only got 3 for 18 on 6 targets. These guys will both see Darius Slay and Quinion Mitchell. But it is a better schematic matchup based on the cover 4 and the cover 6 for Hopkins. So I think Hollywood will be able to shake free for a bigger play. 50% of his targets in the last 4 games have been 10 yards or more downfield. So I do think that Hopkins can get a couple of grabs. Brown can make a play, and we've talked about Noah Gray. The next one is a plus 525 situation, and I got the quarterbacks running in this one, along with a sneaky Pacheco run. Here is the data point on Pacheco that is worth noting for the Philadelphia area native. He is best running out of 11, which he will a lot. And he's actually averaged 4.9 yards per carry on outside zone attempts this year, which Philly gives up 4.63 yards per carry against. So it is actually a good schematic matchup there for Pacheco. Next up, this is yet another big odds and a big payoff, 14-1. How about A.J. Brown? This is an alternative total at 90+. Goddard with an alternative total at 70+, and then Kelsey with an alternative total. These are all doable. And it's 14-1. So that's not too shabby. And then we got 2 more here real quick. 24-1 is Brown alternative total of 50+. I said he'll probably make a big play. Gray at 25+ receiving yards with those crosser routes. And then Hopkins, if we lose it, it'll probably be this. But, man, can we get 25 damn yards? Last one here is a plus 278, and it's all Jalen Hurts because I think Jalen Hurts, the game is going to have to be in his hands. So there are some parlays that I'm looking at.
Thanks for watching, but don't let the betting insights end here. If you want an extra edge this football season, you can get a month of VSiN Pro right now absolutely free. That means access to our betting insights, analysis, and tools like our betting splits at 0 cost to you. Click the link in the description to sign up.